right, everybody, we're back. Hey, do you want to get away? Do you want to get away?
Absolutely.
This is Maria Stefanopoulos, and she is from Ingenious Travel, right?
That I am.
She can help you get away.
That I can.
You actually have some really cool stuff, though, because when we first met, it was all about going to the Lightning games on the road and all that kind of stuff. Let's talk about Ingenious Travel.
Well, going to Lightning games and other sporting events is part of what we do.
See?
So sports travel is a very big part. But overall, I mean, we're full service. That means we're handling your flights, your transportation when you're at your destination, your lodging, all your excursions, which could include game tickets, concert tickets, movie premieres, actually, theater tickets, all that can be combined. So we do a little bit of everything.
So I have to ask because, again, we were talking pre-show that, I kind of work with a lot of people. Isn't the air flight that the hardest one, kind of? Because literally, I mean, I know we've tried to book stuff where I look at it, price, I'll go back and get that, and 10 minutes later, nope, gone.
Yeah, they work on dynamic pricing. So basically, it's as demand goes up, your price goes up. Also, if you're doing it from the website as opposed to calling in, which most people don't do anymore, your link is tracked. And so the more you keep going back to it, or the more people they see looking at that flight, they're determining there's more interest.
They market
and
it
they
up.
raise the price.
Oh, that is mean.
That's what they do.
Oh my gosh. So and I guarantee everybody out there is wanting to know this. Travel right now in the past couple of years, do people take vacations anymore?
They are.
Okay.
In a word, travel's been a roller coaster. I mean, just plain and simple, it has been a roller coaster.
Right.
And because of that, you really need to pack patience, which sounds kind of cliche at this point. I have none of that.
But just saying.
I know, but you would really need to.
I know.
The airline's bringing that back up. They have canceled so many routes, and they're still doing so. They're still trying to refine their footing, but now that more destinations, especially internationally, have opened, they're adding more flights daily.
Okay.
But that also means you could book your ticket today, and it's going to change 5 or 6 times before you actually travel 5 months from now.
Whoa.
And so again, you got to pack your patience. We've had different situations domestically, especially over weekend travel, where whether it's weather related or staffing issues, they have to cancel flights.
Right.
And that, everybody's scrambling at that point.
So, and I think that's what makes us, first of all, we're RVers. So I just need a field somewhere that I can park the RV. But we still like to travel. I want to do cruises. I want to go. My wife has never left the country other than from a cruise. So we want to go. Like, she is Irish. We want to go to Ireland, right? I'm English and German, and I would like to go back to Germany, and I would like to go back to England because I got roots in both sides. So, but we're afraid that we may book it today, and like a week before we leave, oh yeah, it's canceled. Sorry, can't go. Borders closed. Chink.
Okay, so right now, yes, that is a concern.
Right.
However, more and more countries are opening up and they're relaxing a number of their COVID policies. So the chances of those borders closing again, could it happen? Yes, it's a lot less likely. Like right now, the UK and Ireland, actually, they just relaxed their policies where if you're vaccinated, you don't need to test before going, and they've eliminated any kind of quarantine or any testing or showing of passports for the most part through those countries. If you're not vaccinated, you need a negative test 72 hours prior to traveling, and then again 2 days within travel. And as long as you're negative, you go on as normal. Okay. And so we're starting to see that with more countries.
Right.
Cruising, again, it's going to depend if you're leaving from a U.S. port or an international port. So that can make a difference. Like right now, Norwegian and Royal Caribbean are saying that as of March 1st, for those departing from U.S. ports, they're dropping their mask mandate, which to me would make cruising a little bit more appealing.
I will not go if I have to wear a mask.
And that's the thing. You're not getting that same experience, and a lot of people won't.
Right.
You're paying all that money to enjoy that trip, but then you really can't enjoy the trip.
So here's funny. We'll go on a cruise. I'm not there to hang out with anybody. Like my wife and I go, or normally it's the kids, and we'll all go together. But ultimately, I'm going there to sleep, eat, maybe a little gambling, and watch some shows, and be by ourselves. We're not there to pal around with people.
Right.
So, but I still don't want to wear the mask.
Right. And then that's the thing. And then in Europe, with the river cruising, we're not seeing those changes yet, and especially because they're traveling through Germany and Austria, which have some of the toughest COVID restrictions.
Yes.
So a lot of it's going to depend on where it is you want to go.
Well, okay, so where we want to go. What are some of the big destinations people are trying to go to?
I would say right now, top of the list is Greece.
Okay, I'm good with that.
So, and we're talking mostly the islands.
Okay.
However, like Santorini, Mykonos, Crete. You also have some of the lesser known that are starting to get more popular,
Right.
like Tinos and Paros and Naxos. But at the same time, going up to northern Greece, if you want to do where you're staying on land and not necessarily going island hopping, the Thessaloniki area, which is up in northern Greece, is
And there's
beautiful.
a lot of mountains up there, right?
There are.
Yeah.
There are. So Greece is high on the list. Italy is another one that's still very big on the list. And I'm talking not just for the people who go to the first time destination.
We're going to Rome and we're going to look at the ruins.
Right. Okay. Those are more first timers.
Okay.
So, you've got Rome, Venice, and
Yeah.
Florence. But even up in the Dolomites area, no matter what time of year, because you can go skiing.
Right.
And what's really cool up there is they have this gastro safari. So for people who are into food,
Yes.
you can go sit on a mountaintop, have a meal, and then ski down the hill.
See, that's
So,
awesome.
I mean, fun types of things like that. Scotland, Ireland, and England, not as much, but Scotland and Ireland, because of the restrictions being
Right.
relaxed,
Yep.
we're seeing more. And Croatia is really becoming super
I ain't
popular.
going nowhere near Croatia right now. Too much crazy. But okay, so that brings me into this. So, okay, we've booked it, we've got it going. What protection? Because I've heard everybody go, well, I just buy this insurance online and I just go do this. What protection can we get?
Okay. So when you're looking at travel protection, the companies overall are providing somewhat the same services. However, they'll have a different, what they call look back date, where let's say that you have some kind of pre-existing condition and you're not sure of what's going to happen with that. If you buy your travel protection within 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the company's dates, you then have the option of getting canceled for any reason due to a pre-existing condition.
Oh.
But now that otherwise, because COVID is a known risk, the travel protection is about 75 to 80% because you're accepting that risk that could happen.
Right.
Now, some countries will also require you to purchase their medical insurance, like Costa Rica, Aruba, and Belize, because then if something happens, you test positive while you're there, that then will cover your lodging, your meals, any kind of medical coverage that you might need. But today, I would not travel without any kind of travel protection, especially international. If you have U.S. health insurance, it is not going to cover you overseas.
Right. So here's a question for you. I'm going to take a cruise. I'm leaving from an American port, but I'm going to another country. Now, most of the times we don't need our passports, but we should take our passports. Will we?
Absolutely. Okay. So technically, if it's what they call a closed loop cruise, you're going, say, Miami to Miami round trip. So something happens though while you're on one of those islands, you're in a foreign country, you need your passport if you have to fly home. And a lot of people don't think about it. If you don't plan on leaving the ship, I still would take a passport.
Right.
And right now it's taking about 8 weeks to get a passport, down from about 4.5, 5 months that it was about 6 months ago.
That's good. It's normally, I remember back in the day when I got my first one, a long time ago, it took forever, and then it got a little more speedy. So, so we got about 2 minutes left.
Okay.
Last words of wisdom, tips.
Okay, so speaking of passports, you want to make sure that your passport is valid at least 6 months from the date of your return.
Ooh.
Because actually, it's not so much that the country is going to have an issue with it. This is when the gate agent at the airline will check, and you could be denied boarding if you don't have that much availability on your passport.
Okay.
So that's one thing that a lot of people
Got it.
aren't aware of. When you're looking on... I don't recommend anybody right now not use a travel agent or a travel advisor, because even domestically, something happens, you still have 2 days left on your trip, you find out your flight's canceled. Do you want to spend time on the phone trying to rebook that flight, or do you want somebody to do it for you? You lose your luggage. With that travel protection, you start that ball rolling, I can follow up for you while you're still on your trip.
Okay.
So there are different, a travel agent, in my perspective, especially internationally, don't do it yourself.
Okay. I have a question for you, and I know we only got like 40 seconds left. Some people are intimidated by trying to get the passport. Can you walk them through the steps?
Yes, and I have, I can help. They're actually very simple, but I can definitely walk them through that.
Okay.
You get your picture taken, you can download the form online now, take it to the post office, they process it for you. Again, it takes a good 8 weeks, but yeah, we can definitely help.
All right, so Ingenious Travel, we've had it up the whole time, 727-748 4077?
That's correct.
There you go, boom. And look at that beautiful website. I want to go there, but that's a golf course.
It is at St. Andrews in Scotland.
That's right.
It is a beautifully flat course right next to the North Sea. I was there a few years ago, and I was kind of blown away because you're so used to seeing, some typography when you go to a golf course, and this one is very flat.
Flat.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, stick around. We got way more people coming. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
This has been some really, really good information. And you know what? If you're going to travel, there you go. Call Maria. She'll take care of you. We'll be right back after this. All right, so you know what? The housing market is hot. It's hard to even find something now, but you always want to make sure that you know what you're buying. I got Jay from A Snoop Inspection, Snoop Dogg.
Yep.
We've known each other for years now.
It's been a while.
So it has been a while.
Brother.
Yes, we are. Yeah. See, we're brothers. Yes, I literally had someone say, "God, you look just like Jay," and I'm like, "Poor Jay."
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about this housing market and how busy you guys have got to be, as long as they're not waving.
It's going up and down. Unfortunately, people are cutting out inspections.
Right.
They put in several contracts on houses, lose 10, 15 times, and they're like, okay, what can we do to try to get a house?
Right.
And they're just at the point where we have to buy something, and they're cutting out an inspection. Now, we've done some inspections after the fact to tell them what they bought, and sometimes it's good news, sometimes it's bad news.
Right.
So that's all part of it. So if you have bought a house and you didn't have it inspected initially, it might be a good idea to have it done after the fact.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, I just can't see why. I get it, but so my question to you is let's walk through your inspection process, because you're not just one of these kind of guys that shows up in a beat up truck and get out there and you walk around a couple 45 minutes. Yep, it's all good.
Well, I mean, if you think you're going to get a good inspection by an inspector that does it in an hour, he's not doing the whole house.
Right.
I mean, a typical inspection is a good 3 hours long. And of course, it depends on the size of the home. We're talking about a standard 1,800, 2,000 square foot house, even if it has a pool, 3.5 hours. A bigger house, of course, will take a little longer. Of course, if it's a condo, I can do them a little quicker.
Right.
But that's a condo. You're really looking at just interior things.
Exactly.
But it takes some time to go through it, and we are checking all the main systems. I mean, you're looking at the heating and air and the electrical and the plumbing and the whole 9 yards, that you could be concerned that that toilet's loose, if it's not tightened down. Electrical panels that are now considered defective. The 70s and 80s weren't good for electrical panels.
Right.
And you think everything's good, and it's going to hurt you in insurance is the big thing.
Right.
And I tell you what, insurance is getting tighter and tighter and tighter.
Right.
So you want to make sure your house doesn't have any deficiencies that will hurt you getting insurance.
Okay. So if, say I'm a seller, right, and my buyer says, I'm going to have my inspector come in, what do I need to do to get the house ready for you to, as a seller, to inspect? Because I have heard horror stories where if something is sitting in front of a box, you're not going to move that stuff to look inside that.
No, unfortunately, I mean, there's horror stories out there that you moved a box and this antique doll falls and you end up being responsible for it.
Right.
So access to those main systems. I need to be able to get all the way up to an electrical panel, the water heater, the heating and air system. If you've got a ton of stuff in the attic, we would like to see part of the attic. I mean, the new homeowner doesn't want to go climbing around the attic, so they expect us to.
Right.
So we need to be able to get access to that. So that does pose some issues once in a while, and we'd like to be able to get to all of those areas so that we can snoop around a house, a snoop inspection, and let the buyers know what they're buying. I mean, really give them a good idea of what they're looking at.
If the house is empty, got to make sure the electric's on, right?
Yep.
All the utilities.
All the utilities. Gas is always the fun one because they'll leave the electricity on but yet turn the gas off.
Right.
And honestly, the gas company doesn't like you leaving gas on in a vacant house.
Right.
But then you've got to take the time, and it may take a couple extra days to get the gas turned back on so we can do a proper inspection.
Right. Because you check all that stuff.
Yep, we sure do.
So now, do you do the is it wind mitigation?
We do the wind mitigations for insurances.
Okay.
That's really done for possible discounts.
Okay.
One of the big things, new roof. I mean, I say it's a 30-year-old house. Doesn't have the original roof. So if it's been replaced since 2002, you're going to get a discount for just having the new roof, but it has to be permitted and completely closed out. So if they got the permit but then didn't do the final inspection, that's not a complete permit. You really got to take care of it all.
Okay. All right. So now here's something that it's always not confused me, but when I hear people befuddled that a room wasn't considered a room, what's going on there? Well, I mean, what makes a room an actual added into the square footage of the house?
Well, I mean, for instance, if they just closed in the back porch and didn't actually permit it, it can be touchy area. Ooh. You can tell by the square footages that are listed with the county. If the county hasn't listed as a room, guess what? It's not really a room on that house unless they've been contacted. Now, if it was done 20 years ago, 25 years ago, and they didn't permit it, but yet the county might have during the last 20 years ended up remeasuring and increasing, and guess what? Their taxes went up.
Right.
I mean, that's one reason people don't do it. They're trying to keep their taxes low,
right.
But it's not always a good thing. It just changes things around, and it will change the value.
Now, so I take my garage and I enclose my garage, and as long as I have a permit, right, and I air condition it, is that what it is? It's got to have air conditioning.
Heating and air conditioning, but it could even come down to proper electrical outlets. I mean, a lot of garages only have one outlet, maybe two.
Yeah.
But to be living area, it would be required to have some more outlets in that room.
Okay. Now, do you get on the roofs?
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
We do single-story roofs.
Okay.
We actually have 30-foot long poles and put cameras on them to do the two-story roofs. So we still take photographs and really look at them on the computer, blow up things. I've done that with brand new houses and see that flashing isn't quite down all the way. I mean, brand spanking new. That's the other thing we haven't talked about. Yeah. All this new construction.
Let's talk about
that. We do a decent amount of inspections on new construction. I would suggest getting it inspected before you close on the house. If you don't do it then, at least the 11th month inspection. You're releasing the builder after a year, that there's still the structural warranty for 10 years, but typically there's only a 1-year warranty on the entire house.
Okay.
So there's a lot of people getting the 11th month inspection.
Okay. So you'll go in there, take care of everything, look at everything, make sure it's all done right.
And that's when you can go back to the builder and say, I want this, this, and this fixed. Even if you didn't do the initial inspection before you actually closed on the house. Yeah. Because that 1 year, it's there. Now, if it's cosmetic stuff, and it could have happened, no, they're not going to fix it. But if there's something real going on, yeah, it happens. I have found ducts not, connected properly, all kinds of different things. It's surprising.
Nothing like cooling your attic.
Yep. I had one that was dryer duct, and it had the booster fan because of the length of the dryer going out, and it wasn't turned on. And of course, the homeowner didn't even realize it. I mean, they don't know the workings of that system. So you had this fan that wasn't even on. So instead of helping blow things out, it's actually impeding all the lint and crud that's going on. Who knows what happened to that house another year or two?
Gosh. Now, so what are the big red flags? So I'm going to buy a house, right? What's the big red flags like? Okay, I've got to get an inspector out here. Like wobbly roofs and...
I mean, roofing is a big deal right now, period. I mean, they're getting so tight on the insurances that you really know that you have to know that the roof is in good shape.
Okay.
And you don't want to get up there. And it's not your house, so you don't have the insurances or anything else to walk out there and get on a ladder and get on it.
Right.
You need an inspector to do it.
Okay.
And if you're moving down from the north, I hate to say this, but roofs don't last as long as the north. They're like, oh, the roof's only 15 years old, so we're going to be good to go. No, that's good. That's good to go maybe in Pennsylvania, but not in Florida. So it's a different animal down here. And you've got to educate people and show them what they're buying. I've done inspections for builders from up north, and they appreciate the information I give them. They didn't realize the amount of differences between being in Florida and being in Maryland or Ohio or Michigan or any of those states.
And now, I know the one thing that, again, we've been through this process where beautiful landscaping, it's all covered up and whole 9 yards, but you actually get behind those plants and look at that block and, or siding or whatever.
Yeah, we're looking for the cracks, we're looking for settlement. Plus, we're checking all your main things. We're looking for the main water shutoff out front and telling you where it is. I mean, hopefully you can actually make it out to the inspection. You don't have to be there the whole time. Come at the end. We'll go over all the findings, and I'm going to point out all of those items while we're there. I've got 2 other inspectors that work with me. We actually do inspections all the way from the Villages, Crystal River, down to Venice Beach.
Whoa, so that's a big area.
You would cover a large area. I take care of the south stuff. I'm doing a lot of the Manatee, Sarasota area. I've got a good inspector here in Pinellas, and I've got actually another inspector coming aboard to take over Pasco, Hillsborough, and then I've got a north inspector that does the Villages. He lives in Bushnell.
You
and
are
takes care of the
busy,
north
man.
stuff.
Holy cow, that's awesome. It's good to see. It's good to see you. I haven't seen you in quite a while.
It's been a few years pre-COVID.
It is. You know,
it was PC.
PC. Well, that's the only time I'll use the words PC, because I am not PC at all. But but look, if you're going to buy a house, I'm just telling you, whether you need to get that house inspected.
Oh yeah.
That is and my piece of advice, even if you've had your house for 4 or 5 years or 20 years, you need to have at least every other year, you need to have an inspector come out and take a look. Because he'll tell you what, hey, you're not maintaining this, or that could be a problem in about a year, 2 years. So it's not just buying a house. If you're a property owner, I always think it's good to have you come out. Matter of fact, we're getting right there anyway. So hey, stick around. We've got some great more guests coming in here, and you know what? We'll be back after these messages. All right, we're back. You know what? Here's the one thing that you never get to see a lot of on our business shows is we actually put a church in, because God knows we need some Jesus around this place. Now, everybody knows me. This is David from 12 Church. Now, this is the church that I go to. Love this guy, young man. It's kind of funny. I'm sitting in the audience, and the first time I ever saw him, I'm like, wow, I got a 10-year-old talking to me. That's just freaking awesome, man.
I look at least 14.
Well, okay, 14.
14.
Yeah, he does, 14. So, hey, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And let's talk about 12 Church and why you started 12 Church.
Great. Well, thank you for having me, first of all. Honored to be here. Well, I'm from right here in Pasco County. I grew up 10 minutes away in Embassy Hill, Chantilly Lane.
Oh, wow.
Grew up.
Yep.
And, went to Fox Hollow Elementary, Bayonet Point Middle, Ridgewood High. So, the normal thing was kind of, for those that grew up here, was like, let's get out.
Yeah.
But for me, I love it.
You stayed.
I love Pasco County.
Okay.
Jesus saved me when I was a senior in high school, and immediately gave me a desire, a passion, some would say vision, for a church that would minister to the people of Pasco County.
Right.
And it became real a couple of years ago that if there was going to be a church that I envisioned in Pasco County, for Pasco County, I was going to have to start it. So gathered a team, and my wife and I moved back to start 12 Church. And It's been
Now,
interesting.
you went to actually seminary school, right?
Well, I went to college to play football in Oklahoma, but it was not a Christian college. I studied English.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why you speak so well.
Something
Unlike
like that.
me, that's why you speak so well up on that stage.
Something like that, yeah. But I played football. I know I don't look like it, but I played football in college, studied English, and did some ministry in Texas and then on the other side of Pasco County. But it just seemed like the entire journey was setting me up and my wife up to be here and plant this church. And I hope I get to be a part of this church until the day I die.
There you go.
That's the hope.
So, okay, so here's something funny. You started this church at the absolute most worst time to ever start anything.
True.
You did it.
True.
And it didn't kill you.
It did not kill
It
us.
made you stronger.
As, yeah, you can say that. You can say that. Yeah, we started the church on March 1st of 2020 and had no idea COVID was, right upon us. So we started the church, had a great launch day. More people attended our launch day than in the history of the network of churches that we're a part of. So it was really exciting. It was like years and years of waiting and planning and preparing, and all led to this one moment, big, great launch day, and then the whole world shut down the next week.
Right.
Everything. It was just, yeah. And so we were forced, just like everybody else was, to adjust, to change things up. Yeah, pivot, because we had no idea, like nobody did. Nobody knew if this was going to be a week long, if this was going to be 2 weeks long, if this was going to be a year. Nobody knew.
Right.
Nobody knew. And so we became an online church real fast.
Real fast.
Real fast, yeah. And logic says we should have closed.
Right.
Yeah, that should have shut us down. And unfortunately, a lot of churches.
They did. And a lot of businesses.
Businesses, yeah.
I come from a church background. I was a preacher's kid.
Yeah.
All 9 yards. We started several churches. And me and my brain said, this church, great vibes, great energy, whole 9 yards. But I'm going to start looking for another church. But then all of a sudden, one of your people in your church knew my wife.
Okay.
And my wife said, hey, they want us to go to church. We were going to church that day. And then all of a sudden we looked at Facebook, oh, they're not having church, but they're having it online.
Yes.
Which was awesome. And what a great sermon.
Thank you.
So 55 years old I am, right? And
Yeah.
I have probably heard every sermon out there that can be preached.
Sure.
In different ways, right? And the first one that you did, I'm like, oh, you started, I'm like, I've heard this before. And then I got done, I looked at my wife and I went, that was good.
Thank you.
I mean, he brought that across like, I've never heard it, but man, you made it so simple and easy to, and that's what you do.
Yes.
You really do make it where the kids can sit in the church
Sure.
and actually pay attention and go, oh, I get that.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
So you've moved a couple of times. Let's talk about all that fun stuff.
Yeah. Well, once COVID happened and the uncertainty became upon us, typically when you start a church, obviously resources are limited, money is limited, so you only have a few options to gather. It's not like a brand new church can go buy a building.
Right.
So you're sort of forced to rent facilities, and schools are usually primary targets.
Right.
So we launched in a school,
Yep.
but then when COVID happened, the schools were like, hey,
Can't come in.
nobody can be in here.
Yep.
So then we had to move to a different school, and then that school got a COVID outbreak, so they kicked us out, and but they had to do what they had to do. Everybody was operating the best that they could.
Right.
I mean, so there's no bitterness, but yeah, that school, I won't even mention them because I still love them, but they just said, yeah, you have to be out of here. So then we moved to the movie theater,
Which was awesome.
which was awesome because they
loved it.
weren't open.
Right.
Brought them a little bit of business,
Yeah.
gave us a chance, but once they opened, it wasn't
couldn't do it
possible anymore. So now we're at another school, and so 4 different locations in less than 2 years.
Right.
And it seems like as soon as we get the rhythm down, and as soon as we get used to a place, God moves us to another location. So I think one thing we've proven is we can pretty much do church anywhere.
Right.
Give me a cafeteria or a gymnasium or an auditorium or a movie theater, we can figure it out.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
online.
And online. Yeah.
It was great. Because my world is streaming.
Yes.
And when I see a church stream, I go, oh, they're progressive. That's awesome. I'm going to get this church, whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
And the location that we're in now
Yes.
is out of the park awesome.
River
talk
Ridge
about
High
that
School.
real- yeah.
Yes, absolutely. River Ridge High School, the Center for the Arts. Now, I'm pretty sure that their primary function is to service really all the schools in Pasco County, right? Band, recitals, and then different things. They have welcomed us with open arms. It's hard when you rent a place as a church because, you know, you want to feel welcome.
Right.
You want to feel like you're not an annoyance on the people. They make us feel right at home. Great partnership, huge facility. We finally have room to grow.
Right.
Yeah, we couldn't ask for a better situation. Believing one day we'll be able to have a place where we can, you know, exist 7 days a week
Right.
and minister and serve the community every single day. But for now, we're praising God for the opportunity to be at River Ridge High School. And oh yeah, you could not ask for a better temporary location than that, for sure. You talked about us being online, and I know you know this, but we filmed our online services from a closet.
I do know that.
Dude, this thing was like 8 foot by 10 foot, and this couple in our church graciously donated the space to us, and we set up cameras and lighting and stuff in this. I mean, the camera was right here in my face, man, and it was it was very interesting but fun.
Yeah.
You know, to be creative and things like that, and I wouldn't trade that season for anything. It was certainly fun, for sure.
Awesome. Now, we got about 2.5 minutes left. Everybody's out there going, okay, your church, what's your core? What's your belief? Because, you know, first people go, I don't want to do bad, so I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this. Let's talk about what that core value is.
Sure. Yeah. Well, the vision for our church, really, the heart of it is this community, is Pasco County, and reaching people in Pasco County. You mentioned earlier about how I keep it simple. Well, there's a reason for that. You know, our target audience, our core people that we're looking to reach are people that are not about the church. They don't love church. They don't really understand a lot of the spiritual lingo, you know, some of the religious language. So we stay away from all that. We want to keep things really, really simple. The vision is not to be a church that belongs to a denomination or even be a non-denominational church, but an interdenominational church where people from different backgrounds and traditions can feel at home. Our message is simple. God is good. Mankind is not, right? And but God has come to rescue us in Jesus Christ.
There you go.
Died on the cross for our sins, rose again, and we can be saved by grace through faith in Christ alone.
Perfect.
And yeah, that is the core of everything that we communicate. Now, we have fun. We keep it casual.
Oh, yeah.
We have loud music.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's literally,
Right.
The service is awesome. I mean, we have great music.
Kids.
Great sermon. The kids are so well taken care of.
Kids ministry is unbelievable.
absolutely.
Yeah, so we're certainly not stiff. We want to keep it fun, energetic, passionate, creative.
You can show up in your favorite football jersey. We did last Sunday.
Absolutely you can. I preach usually in this or something very similar. Very casual atmosphere, but serious about the message of the gospel and Jesus Christ, and passionate about reaching people in Pasco County.
Let's tell everybody where you're at so that way
Sure.
they can come and visit us on Sunday.
Sundays, 2 identical worship experience times, 9 a.m. and 10:30 at River Ridge High School. And our services last about an hour. If you have children with you, they're going to love it, I promise you. Take them once, they'll beg you to come back. And if you do come one Sunday, be sure to stop me and say hi. I'd love to meet you.
Yeah, there you go. So I recommend this church. I recommend David. He's a great
Thanks,
guy.
John.
Pastor David. I'm so,
David's fine.
Yeah, I'm old school. Pastor David said.
David's fine.
David. So make sure you look at the website.
Yeah.
We've been showing it the whole time. Give them an email. What
You can
time?
email
What services start?
9 with 2 services, 9 a.m. and 10:30. They're identical.
Right.
So either one you come to, you'll get the same experience and you'll love it.
There you go. So thank you guys for watching. We'll be back in a short little notice because we got some great more people coming on. Be right back. Welcome back. Hey, today, look, the housing market is hot. We all know that, right? And if you're going to have a realtor represent you or help you find a home or help you sell your home, this is your man right here, Brian Beatty. And no, he's not Warren Beatty or Ned's little brother. Could be, you never know.
Okay.
But so you're with C21 affiliated.
Yes. Century 21 affiliated, based out of Madison, Wisconsin, Chicago, Illinois. We're in 6 states currently, hundreds of offices, actually the largest Century 21 franchise in the world. But I'm here in the Clearwater market and tied to the Tampa market.
Okay, I'm gonna flat out ask you this question.
Sure.
What makes you different and better than all the other real estate agents? Because it seems like to me, everybody gets frustrated with their job. I'm gonna just go be a realtor.
Well, and there's been a lot of that since the pandemic. People that got sent home for work were non-essential, and they saw real estate on fire, and we were essential. A lot of people went out and got a real estate license. We've seen the inventory go to the lowest level ever in this area. So supply and demand is really what's driving this market. And I would say that what I've learned, we have a lot of agents that'll run out, show a house, not qualified people. What we do is more of an advisor. We're going to sit down. We have buyer consultations. We have seller consultations. We have people that come to us for advice, and we try and be not that one-dimensional transactional real estate group. We're more of a advisor. I think the biggest problem in our industry is really the transactional agents that are out there looking for you to buy or sell.
Right.
We have so many resources available to homeowners, renters, people that want to buy, people that need to transition, to relocate, that you can use this as a resource that doesn't cost anything.
Right.
And so many people don't do that.
When we were talking, and before we were coming on the show, I love the fact that you sit down with that client and you really get to know their needs, their wants, that whole world before you just take on the world of, let me go find you a house or let me sell your house.
Well, and I think that's the biggest thing I tell people. It's not my house to buy. You have to tell me this is the house you want to purchase, and then we'll do everything we can to negotiate the best terms, right? And we're seeing people do, I always tell them, everybody's doing stupid and ridiculous things right now. You don't have to unless you want to. And I would say one of the big problems in our industry is the clients, whether they're buyers or sellers, they don't get options.
Right.
And they don't get educated on what all of their options are, because most of the time when they're not getting those options, they're being led to just get to the closing table for that transaction.
That's not good. Now, you showed me this earlier, and I loved it. And what a great selling tool. Things of selling, you can interview several agents or just contact our group, giving you options. And then you look at it, and then on the back, that's the options.
Right.
I mean, that is fantastic.
Yeah. So it's very simple. It's very cut and dry. I think the problem with people that want to sell a home, they're always nervous about calling an agent or several agents because they really just don't know. Are we going to, is this a discount broker? Is this somebody that's going to require a premium? The reality is the number one rule in real estate is everything's negotiable, right?
Right.
And I probably would venture to say that everybody that hires a real estate agent, realtor, advisor, whatever you want to call us, one of the best things you're looking for us is to be a negotiator.
Right.
And so many people come in, agents will come in and have just one option.
Right.
This is what we do. This is what we offer. And maybe you're not good with that. So then you interview 7 other agents to find, I really like the option over here.
Right.
But a lot of times they're not mentioning all these options that are available because it's just not what they want to do.
Right.
I tell people we give you options so that you can decide what's best for you. And it's the same thing on the buyer side. We have options at every step of the transaction. So if it's not what you want to do, you shouldn't do it.
Right. So we skimmed over the Ally Advisor Group.
Yeah.
What what really is the driving force there?
So the driving force is, people see the name and they'll say, "Hey, who's Allie?" And I say,
Yeah.
"Well, it's Ally." It's a play on words that an ally is a friend or a partner.
Right.
An advisor is somebody that, you trust to give you advice
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff. And a group is obviously a team or a group of people that have a common bond and a common goal. And ours is really to be your friend in the real estate business, educate you, and make sure that you know all options available at every step of your transaction. And not to leave you after the transaction. So,
Right. Yeah, but thanks for using me. I'm
Yep.
gone now. And then you never hear from that person again until you hear they sold their house and are
Yeah.
like, why didn't you talk to me, man?
I think the biggest thing that a lot of agents forget is that, you help somebody buy, there's other stuff that we can advise them on.
Right.
Do you have life insurance? You're married. Yeah, if one spouse dies, the house goes to your spouse. But what happens if you both die in a car accident? What's there, right? So is the will, testament, trust, whatever. And this is all stuff that doesn't cost us any, or
Right.
we don't charge for. But we would connect you with the right people to make sure you're protecting your asset.
Right.
Right? And I think it's the easiest analogy is I think people don't use us until they're ready to transact. And I would equate it to most everybody out there has a retirement plan, right? And with that retirement plan, they probably have a financial advisor that they're sitting down, or they're probably getting monthly statements from,
Right.
at least. And then if they have a good financial planner, they're sitting down at least once a year talking about their exit plan from their work life, right? But nobody uses a real estate advisor for that. They don't get we have the ability to give you every 2 weeks an automated
Market
report,
analysis,
from the MLS that just comes out, tells you what's happening in your neighborhood. It can be set up for every 2 weeks, every month. And then ideally, you should be sitting down with an advisor once a year to say, okay, our exit plan is 5 years out. We plan on downsizing. We
Right.
plan on upsizing. We plan on relocating. But, we've got a tax return coming back. Where would the money be best served to put in, knowing that we're going to leave in 5 years, right?
Right.
So that, I think, is something people don't leverage enough.
Never heard. You know what? You're the first real estate agent I've ever heard talk about that.
Well, my background is 24 years in the plumbing and remodeling industry. And I became an agent 4 years ago
Right.
because my knees were wore out, my backs wore out. I was getting close to 50, which I am now. And I said, what am I going to do that's going to allow me to work to retirement?
Right.
And I'd been a real estate investor. I have rentals, have had rentals. When we had the plumbing business, before we sold it in Chicago to move down, we worked a lot with real estate agents, flippers, all that kind of stuff to get people into, homes, purchase cycles or to sell, that kind of stuff.
Right.
So I was very heavily involved with the, real estate, even in the plumbing industry.
Yeah, you kind of see the trends, what's
Yes.
going on. Yeah. So we've only got 2 minutes left.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, that was crazy.
It is, quick.
So most realtors that I know of
Mm-hmm.
have a website and maybe a Facebook. Bro, you are everywhere.
So we have, if you look up Brian Beatty, PLLC, you'll find me everywhere with Century 21 affiliated. Ally Advisor Group, we have a big social media presence. The easiest thing I can tell people, if you want to connect with me, do www.uppertampabayhomes.com. It's a simple landing page. You give us your information. Tell us whether you're buying or selling.
Right.
And it's an automated email that's going to be sent to you to say, what's important to you. And then we're going to get you on schedule to sit down and have those important discussions.
That's awesome.
And even if you're a renter out there and your plan is to become a homeowner, get the plan in place, right? So it either starts with the real estate advisor or a lender. So ideally, that's really our starting point with most of our clients.
What's the best way for people watching to get a hold of you?
So through the UpperTampaBayHomes.com website is a great one. They can always call or text 727-242-0042. That is my personal cell phone number. If I don't answer, I'm with a client or in a meeting, but I return all my phone calls or text messages as quick as I can. I can tell you that my clients and even the other agents I work with, I'm very responsive between the hours of 8 a.m. and 8 p.m.
What area do you cover in the Tampa Bay area?
So Clearwater, St. Pete, well, really the upper Tampa Bay area is my market.
Okay.
The countryside, West Chase, so I tell people West Chase to the Gulf Coast is my primary area, but we can help people all over.
All right, so if you're just looking, thinking, what if I want to move? This is the guy to give a call, right? Call Brian. He'll take good care of you. We'll be right back after this short message. Okay, we're back. Now we're going to talk about advertising. And advertising is super important. What's even better, though, is if you have food with your advertising, right? So we got Peter Crampton from BC Pro. Now, you started this a while back, and at first I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of interesting. But now we're actually going to talk to you about putting our stuff down on Nerdosphere. So let's talk about BC Pro.
Well, I used to have a gym, and so I did a lot of advertising. I did a mailer, and I did an ad on a pizza menu, and it worked real good. And when I sold those, moved down here, I sold insurance. I hated it.
I know. I was one of your guys.
Yeah. Even though I did good, but
Yes.
I love doing that old thing. If you can find something you love to do, it's not a job.
Exactly.
And so in October 2018, I went to Mama Mia's and said, "Hey, I want to make free menus for you." And he says, "What's the catch?" I said, "I'm going to put local advertisers on there. I won't put anything that competes with your dollar,
Right.
and I won't put anything a child can't look at." And so in fact, just last week I delivered their third menu to them.
I saw the picture.
Yeah, and so it's it took me 3 weeks to sell that first one.
Yeah.
I did 3 menus last week, so it's grown organically because there's no cheaper way of getting your message in their hand.
Right.
And they'll keep it around because it's got a menu. And I got to combine my 2 passions, creativity and eating. So you
were telling us. So we were in a networking group this morning, but we've known each other for a while. It's like he goes, every time I go to a new restaurant, they want to feed me.
Right. It's like, so I love food. I love free food, you know.
Right.
So, but it's also helped these small restaurants during this time when they had to shut down and they're counting pennies. I was creating free menus for them. Even when the pandemic, my menus went out because they're delivery takeout menus. We do a high quality 100-pound gloss.
And it's a nice slick too.
It's a nice slick. I mean,
Right.
professional. We do all the design. When I was in the gym business or any business, I hate when someone would come to me and I'd say, "How much is it?" And they'd tell me a price. I said, "Oh, I'll do that." And then I'd sit down with them and they'd say, "Oh, and here's your design fee, and
Right.
here's this fee and that."
Right.
And I said, "Get out. My fee is just my fee. I don't add extra stuff in there."
Right.
So it makes it real simple for the small guy.
To me, it's a no-brainer. And they're giving these out, and these are absolutely gorgeous. I mean, they're beautiful, right?
I love them.
And they're heavy. They're not. The one thing that really shows me someone's worth is when I go in and they sit down and there's this placemat and it's been copied 1,000,000 times.
Right.
And you're like, you can barely read it. It's like, that's not good advertising. I wouldn't pay for that. If I was on it, I would be upset. But when I sit down somewhere and they hand me a menu and I'm like, well, that's pretty. That's nice. Oh, look at all the food. But I'm like, oh, I need to call that person, or I need to call that person.
Right.
And for the owner of the establishment, That when you're taught when you go in, you got to put all your you got to do your business plan, and that is you got to be I got to make menus, right. So we're opening up the Nerdosphere down here, and I know I'm not about me, but it's about why this is so important. And first person, the partner said, well, we got to print menus. I said, no, we don't.
Yeah,
I got a guy.
And you nailed it, because I didn't want to give them a product that they weren't. This is a product they would be proud to do themselves. In fact, some of them don't, because they don't want to incur the cost of the quality of it. But I know if it's a quality product, the restaurant's going to love it. The diner or the delivery, home delivery or the takeout, they're willing to keep it around because it's a nice product. We don't skimp. We want to make something. There's companies out there. I could make a lot more money if I made them inexpensive, but I like long-term relationships. Kicking Wings, I've done 3 or 4 for them. I mean, this is it's fun now, because I just call my people and say, hey, the menu's coming out again. You want? Yeah, put me on it. So it's it makes my life nice.
It's almost I know my wife does it with you.
Yes.
And it's like, as soon as I see Peter's rumor come across, and she'll go, yeah, just do it. Just do it.
Right.
Just do it.
Right.
It's good advertising.
And I'm not insulted if they don't, because it's you've got to pick your places where you want to go.
You do.
And some places fit better for different types of businesses. And the other thing I'm not insulted is because next man up. I mean, if it's a mortgage company, I've got 3 other mortgage companies that go, hey, I want to be on that menu. I said, I can't. DeLynne's on that one, or Anna's on. Anna, is just. I have a roofer, Contos Roofing. He says, Pete, quit bothering me.
Just put me on.
If it's in West Pasco, put me on it and set an invoice me. In fact, here's my credit card. Put it on file. Just charge it and send me a paid invoice.
Yeah.
So you can't. That says something about what we're doing.
It does. So here's something you don't know. We had one of these sitting at the house. Actually, we had several of these sitting at the house, right? And I have a buddy of mine who's a printer.
Right.
Came in and he goes, "Where'd you get this?" I said, "Well, Peter does it, and he's BC Pro." He goes, "Yeah, I can't ever compete with that, ever." And I'm like, well, why would you try? I mean, and it's a great product. He goes, no, I love the product. He even picked it up. He goes, can I have it? I'm like, no, that's mine.
I'm a local guy about local businesses, and I've had so many guys say, hey, I said, I'd love to have you print those. And when they tell me, I go, I have to go to a commercial printer. They're local. They're semi-local. They're a couple towns over. But if I can keep my prices down, I can keep the advertisers' prices down. So, it's just, but I'm all about helping the little guy out. And the reason I liked it too, I've got ads as little as $200 to be on these menus the last 6 months. So a small little guy can afford it.
Right.
But then you have these guys like this that do a gigantic ad. So it fits all budgets.
And so, you also do these.
Yeah.
Right, which I found some. So we've moved like 3 or 4 times since we've known each other, and I found I guess it was probably about 50 of them in a box that we had just packed up and moved, and they're still good. Yeah. Which blew my mind that they were still nice and wet on the inside. But this is an opportunity for people as well.
Right. And this all happened when I went to work for a company in between the insurance and the menus, and they had me calling restaurants all over the country, but these things they're not the little 1 penny wipes. Half the time they're dry. They're a high quality big wipe. And so I said, let me sell the advertising. I'll give it to the restaurants. The guy, no, you can't do that. Well, Anna Farrell bought 5,000 from me the first time, and out of secrecy, I can't tell you how, but I deliver 15,000 a month of these wipes to restaurants with her advertising on it. She's gotten business off it. She loves it, and I've got Progressive Air. I got some nice size companies, but I can also do a share wipe. We're talking about the boats. I get 3 companies. Let's put 3 ads on there. You guys share it and pass them out, and you're promoting each other. So
that's a good. So let's talk about some of the places that you're in, so people can go. If you want to go look at something, you can always come by WeBeam TV.
Yeah,
we do have some here. So, but what restaurants are you guys?
Oh gosh, Mamma Mia's, Hudson and Port Richey, Kickin' Wings, Juana Taco. I'm just starting to do. I just opened one up for Philly 40. It's a new cheesesteak place. You gotta check them out. By the bridge. And of course they fed me. I'm in 50 locations, so it's just Herschel's. I mean, I can get my list out. It's I can't. Isn't it great? I can't. I have to look. Where am I? Where am I?
So let's talk about some of the costs. So let's go over some of the costs to be on one of these.
Okay. So I have.
It's going to blow your mind. I'm just telling you.
So for an ad this big, which is 4.1 by 4.5, it's $350. I don't have any singles on here, but a single is basically half that. It's $200. The backside, he took it for $900. Now, backside is premium, but
That's
$900.
stuff, right?
But it's still, if you took 350 times 3, it's still a good deal.
Absolutely.
Anyway. So it's again, I try and help the little guy and the big guy, and it's just worked well. So
right.
I love it when I call somebody and they tell me, well, Delynn even told me. She goes, I had somebody call me in Leaning Tower.
Leaning Tower. That's right.
And so, but advertising's weird. I call it connect the dots. Anybody comes in and says, I guarantee run. What I do is I get your name out there at the least amount of money because they saw you here, they saw you there, someone told me. And the reason I know that for a fact is I used to track my advertising when I was in the gym business. Let's say, how'd you hear? A friend sent me. Well, gosh, why am I advertising? Then I had to drill down. I said, have you ever seen an ad? Yeah, I got a mailer. I went to Harris Pizza. I saw your ad. And then Diane told me to tell you that she sent me in because she gets a free T-shirt. Well, so it's connecting the dots. Anyway, yeah.
Right, so we've had the information up the whole time, right? bcmpro.com.
Right.
And what's the phone number?
727-534-0571. And if anybody wants an ad on Philly 40, call me quick because it's going to fill up fast.
And don't forget about Nerdosphere now.
Yeah.
It's coming mid-March.
Right.
Mid-March, because we are going to do cafe. We're going to do food, so it's going to be awesome.
I can't wait to team up with you on that.
That's awesome.
Thank you so
brother.
much.
So stick around. We got more people coming. We got great information, great businesses. It's just that's what I want to be. I want to be the guy that connects people.
And if you have a business, you need to get a hold of this guy and get yourself on video.
Stop.
No,
It's all good. Hey, we'll be right back after these messages.